I remember the crisp, cold air of December, the kind that bites at your nose but fills your lungs with the promise of festivities. Christmas was just around the corner, and for the first time in years, my wife, Sarah, and I had decided to splurge on a short, romantic getaway. A cabin nestled deep in the snowy mountains, a chance to reconnect, to escape the everyday grind. Our son, Leo, a bright-eyed, boisterous 6-year-old, was ecstatic. He was going to spend a week with his grandparents, Sarah's parents, a prospect that usually filled me with a quiet dread, but Sarah had assured me everything would be fine. "They adore him, Ethan," she'd said, her hand gently tracing patterns on my arm. "It'll be good for him to spend time with them." I loved Leo more than life itself. He was my world, my reason for breathing. Every scraped knee, every tear felt like a personal affront to my protective instincts. Leaving him, even for a few days, was always a struggle. But Sarah's parents, the Millers, were family, and despite my reservations about their often overbearing and sometimes critical nature, I wanted to believe they'd care for Leo as if he were their own. Our first few days in the cabin were a dream. The snow fell softly outside, blanketing the pines in a pristine white. We'd sit by the roaring fireplace, sipping hot cocoa, talking for hours, laughing. It was the reset we desperately needed. I called Leo every evening, and his voice, bright and cheerful, reassured me. He'd tell me about the cookies Grandma Miller baked, the stories Grandpa Miller read, and the snow forts he was building with his cousins, who were also staying there for the holidays. Everything seemed perfect, a picture of idyllic family warmth. Then came Christmas morning. We woke up to a serene, snow-covered landscape, the air still and silent. Sarah was still asleep, nestled against me. I reached for my phone, half expecting a flurry of Merry Christmas texts, perhaps a photo of Leo opening his presents. Instead, there was a single, unread message from our next-door neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. Mrs. Henderson was a sweet, elderly woman who often looked after Leo when Sarah and I had evening plans. Her message simply read, "Ethan, I think you need to see this. I'm so sorry." Beneath it was a video file. A prickle of unease, cold and sharp, traced its way down my spine. Why was Mrs. Henderson sending me a video? Why the apology? My heart began to pound a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I clicked the play button, my thumb feeling strangely heavy. The screen flickered to life, showing a dimly lit living room, unmistakably the Millers. The sound was muffled at first, then clarified, the tinny echoes of Christmas carols, the chatter of voices, and then a child's sob. My child's sob. The camera was shaky, clearly filmed from a hidden vantage point, perhaps a phone tucked away. It focused on a corner of the room where Leo stood, his small shoulders hunched, tears streaming down his face. He was clearly distressed, perhaps having broken something or made a mess. My blood ran cold. Then, a hand, large and unmistakably male, shot out. It was Mr. Miller, Sarah's father. His face was contorted in a mask of anger I'd never seen directed at Leo before. And then he slapped him. A sharp, sickening crack that echoed even through the phone speakers. Leo reeled backward, his small hand flying to his cheek, his cries turning into a heartbreaking wail. Before I could even process that, another figure stepped into frame. It was Sarah's sister, Aunt Carol, a woman known for her icy demeanor. She wasn't slapping him, but she was yelling, her face inches from Leo's, her finger jabbing accusingly. And then, as Leo tried to cower away, another hand, a woman's hand, reached out and delivered a second, equally brutal slap to his other cheek. It was Sarah's mother, Mrs. Miller. The video ended there, leaving me suspended in a horrifying tableau. 2 slaps. My son, his grandparents, his aunt, all while I was hundreds of miles away, believing him safe. My breath caught in my throat, a raw, primal scream trying to claw its way out. The idyllic cabin, the serene snow, the sleeping Sarah beside me, all of it vanished, replaced by a red haze of pure, unadulterated rage. It was like a switch flipped deep inside me, transforming me from a loving husband and father into something cold, hard, and utterly ruthless. I jolted upright, tearing the phone from my ear. The image of Leo's tear-streaked face burned into my retina. Sarah stirred, blinking sleepily. "What's wrong, honey?" she mumbled, reaching for me. I flinched away, unable to tolerate her touch. "Get up," I growled, my voice a strained whisper, barely recognizable as my own. "Get up, Sarah. We're leaving, now." Her eyes widened, suddenly alert. "What? Why? What happened?" I shoved the phone into her hands, the video already looping. She watched it, her face draining of color with each sickening slap. Her gasp was sharp, a choked sound of horror. "Oh my God," she whispered, her voice trembling. No, they wouldn't. This must be a mistake." "A mistake?" I snarled, the red mist thickening. "Did you see his face, Sarah? Did you hear him cry? That's not a mistake. That's abuse. And it happened under your parents' roof, with your sister there. And where were you, Sarah? Where the hell were you when your family was assaulting our son?" She looked at me, tears welling in her eyes, a mixture of shock and guilt warring on her face. I was in the kitchen, helping with breakfast. I didn't see it happen. I swear, Ethan, I swear to God." Her words were like gasoline on the fire. She was there, in the house, while her family was hitting our son, and she was making breakfast. "You were in the same house," I stated, my voice dangerously low. "And you didn't hear him? You didn't notice something was wrong? You left him with them, Sarah. You told me it would be fine." The accusation hung heavy in the air, a wedge driven between us that I knew with chilling certainty would never fully be removed. We packed in a blur, the romantic getaway dissolving into a nightmare. The drive back was silent, thick with unspoken accusations and my simmering fury. Every mile felt too long, every passing car too slow. All I could think about was Leo. Was he okay? Was he scared? Was he hurting? And what exactly had provoked such a violent reaction from Sarah's parents, the people who were supposed to cherish him? The moment we pulled into our driveway, I was out of the car before it fully stopped. Sarah was right behind me, her face pale and drawn. Mrs. Henderson was waiting on her porch, wringing her hands. "Ethan, Sarah, I'm so sorry," she began, her voice quivering. "I didn't know what else to do. I saw it happen, through the window, after I went to drop off their mail. I filmed it because I knew you needed to see it. It was awful. Leo was crying because he accidentally knocked over a glass of milk. He was trying to clean it up, and your mother-in-law just started yelling. Then your father-in-law, and then Carol, and then your mother-in-law again. It was a blur. I couldn't believe it." Her words confirmed the worst. A spilled glass of milk, a 6-year-old's clumsy mistake, and for that, he was subjected to physical assault by the very people entrusted with his care. The rage in my chest intensified, a burning inferno that threatened to consume me. We burst through the front door of the Miller's house, not bothering to knock. The festive decorations, the smell of pine and cinnamon felt like a grotesque mockery. Sarah's sister Carol was in the living room, scrolling through her phone, a half-eaten plate of Christmas cookies beside her. She looked up, startled. "Ethan? Sarah? What are you doing here? I thought you weren't coming back until tomorrow." "Where's Leo?" I demanded, my voice raw, cutting through the festive atmosphere like a knife. My eyes scanned the room, desperately searching for my son. Carol, sensing the shift in my demeanor, frowned. "He's upstairs, playing with his new remote control car. What's wrong with you?" I ignored her, storming past her and up the stairs 2 at a time. Sarah followed, her breath coming in ragged gasps. I found Leo in the guest bedroom, surrounded by wrapping paper and new toys. He looked up, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Daddy!" he cried, rushing into my arms. I knelt, hugging him tightly, inhaling the scent of him, feeling the warmth of his small body. He felt so fragile, so vulnerable. I pulled back, gently cupping his face, my thumb brushing the faint redness still visible on his left cheek. My heart fractured. "Leo, baby," I choked out, my voice thick with emotion. "Are you okay? Did Grandma or Grandpa or Aunt Carol hurt you?" His eyes, usually so bright, clouded over. He looked down, fidgeting with the hem of his new sweater. I accidentally spilled milk," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Grandma got mad, and Grandpa, he hit me, and Aunt Carol yelled, and then Grandma hit me again." His lower lip trembled. "It hurt, Daddy. I tried to be good." His innocent words, his genuine belief that he had somehow deserved it, broke me. I pulled him back into a fierce embrace, tears finally stinging my eyes. "No, baby, no. You didn't do anything wrong. They were very, very wrong. And Daddy's going to make sure no one ever hurts you again." By the time I came back downstairs, Leo clinging to my hand, Sarah's parents had emerged from the kitchen, drawn by the commotion. Mr. Miller, a portly man with a booming laugh, looked jovial, a Christmas sweater straining over his belly. Mrs. Miller, sharp-featured and impeccably dressed, had a tight smile on her face. They both looked utterly bewildered by our sudden appearance. "Ethan, Sarah, what a surprise!" Mr. Miller boomed, oblivious. "Merry Christmas! We thought you were enjoying your romantic getaway." I couldn't speak. The words were lodged in my throat, choked by fury. Sarah, however, found her voice, albeit a shaky one. "Dad, Mom, what did you do to Leo?" Her voice was barely a whisper, but the accusation was clear. Mr. Miller's jovial expression instantly hardened. "What are you talking about, Sarah? Nothing happened. He's fine." "Fine," I finally managed, my voice a dangerous growl. "You call this fine?" I pulled out my phone, the video already queued up, and held it out, shoving it into Mr. Miller's unsuspecting face. "You want to tell me what this is, Frank? You want to explain why you and your wife and your daughter thought it was acceptable to physically assault my son for spilling a glass of milk?" The festive living room plunged into an icy silence. Mr. Miller's face, which moments ago had been red with cheer, turned a sickly shade of white as he watched the video. Mrs. Miller gasped, her hand flying to her mouth, not in remorse, but in what looked like shock at being caught. Carol, who had been hovering, now stared at the phone with wide, horrified eyes. That's not what it looks like," Mr. Miller stammered, his booming voice reduced to a pathetic mumble. "He was being disobedient. He knocked over the milk on purpose. He needed to learn a lesson." "A lesson?" I repeated, my voice rising. "A lesson in what, Frank? In how to be afraid of his own grandparents? In how to think he deserves to be hit when he makes a mistake? He's 6 years old. 6! He's not a dog to be disciplined with a slap." Mrs. Miller, ever the aggressor, found her voice, sharp and cutting. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Ethan. It was just a little tap. He was being a terror all morning. You spoil him rotten. He needed a firm hand. We're his grandparents. We have a right to discipline him." "You have no right!" Sarah cried, finally erupting. "You have absolutely no right to lay a hand on my son. You were supposed to protect him. How could you do this? How could you all stand there and let this happen?" Her gaze swept from her parents to her sister, who was now shrinking back into the shadows. "You're overreacting, Sarah," Carol interjected, finding her voice, though it lacked its usual bite. "Kids get smacked sometimes. It's not a big deal. He'll forget about it in an hour." "He won't forget," I said, my voice cold and flat, cutting through their pathetic excuses. "And neither will I. This isn't a little tap. This is assault, and it's a criminal offense. And you all just made the biggest mistake of your lives." The air crackled with tension. Their faces, now stripped of any pretense of familial warmth, were a mixture of fear, defiance, and a creeping realization of the gravity of the situation. They saw the cold, hard resolve in my eyes. They knew this wasn't just a family argument. This was war. I scooped Leo into my arms. "We're leaving," I told Sarah, my gaze fixed on her parents. "You two," I addressed the Millers, "don't you dare try to contact us or Leo ever again. Don't call, don't text, don't show up at our house. If you do, I will press charges for assault and battery, and I promise you, I have enough evidence to make sure you suffer the full consequences." Sarah, still in shock, just nodded, her eyes wide. We walked out, leaving them standing in their ruined Christmas living room, the echoes of their excuses still hanging in the air. The moment the door closed behind us, a new wave of realization hit me. Sarah had been there. She had known, or at least suspected, their harshness, and she had done nothing. The betrayal sliced deeper than any physical wound. That night, after putting Leo to bed, I sat Sarah down. The video played silently on a loop on my laptop. "Sarah," I began, my voice devoid of emotion, "I need you to tell me everything. Every single time something like this has happened or almost happened. Every time you've seen them be too rough, too harsh, too cruel. I need the truth, and I need it now." She broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. The dam had finally burst. She confessed to years of subtle emotional manipulation from her family, their constant criticism of her parenting, their belief that Leo was too soft or too spoiled. She admitted that there had been other incidents, not full-blown slaps, but harsh grabs, aggressive shoves, yelling that would make Leo cry. She'd always brushed them off, told herself it was just their way, that they meant well. She'd been too afraid to confront them, too caught up in the desire for her family's approval, even at the expense of her son's well-being. Her confession was a double-edged sword. It explained her inaction, but it didn't excuse it. It revealed a deep-seated weakness, a failure to protect our child that I couldn't overlook. The trust I had in her as a mother and a partner was irrevocably shattered. I loved her, or at least I thought I did, but the person who sat before me, weeping and confessing, was someone I barely recognized. "I'm calling a lawyer tomorrow, Sarah," I told her, my voice flat, "and I'm calling Child Protective Services. This isn't just about making them pay. This is about making sure Leo is safe. And right now, I don't feel he's safe with you if you're unwilling to stand up to your own family." Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. "Ethan, no, please, don't do this. They're my family. We can just cut them off. We don't have to go to the police. It'll ruin them." "They ruined themselves the moment they laid a hand on our son," I retorted, my gaze unwavering. "And as for just cutting them off, that's what you tried to do, wasn't it? By ignoring their behavior, by minimizing it, by excusing it. Look where that got us, Sarah. Look where that got Leo." The next few weeks were a blur of legal consultations, phone calls, and emotional turmoil. My lawyer, a stern but compassionate woman named Miss Davies, was appalled by the video. She immediately advised me on the steps to take: filing a police report, contacting CPS, and initiating divorce proceedings with full custody of Leo. Divorce. The word hung heavy, a bitter taste in my mouth. But the alternative, staying with a woman who couldn't protect our son, was unthinkable. Child Protective Services launched an investigation. The video was damning evidence. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, along with Carol, were interviewed. They initially denied everything, then tried to claim it was an isolated incident, a misunderstanding, that Leo was a difficult child. But the video showed the unprovoked, brutal nature of the assault and Leo's clear distress. Mrs. Henderson's testimony further solidified the case. The Millers' attempts to intimidate Mrs. Henderson backfired spectacularly, only adding to the evidence of their aggressive and unrepentant nature. The police report led to charges of assault and battery. The Millers, pillars of their small community, with Mr. Miller holding a respected position on the town council, were suddenly facing public humiliation and potential jail time. The news spread like wildfire. Their friends, their colleagues, their church members, everyone saw the video. Everyone heard the story. Their carefully constructed reputation crumbled around them. The calls to me were incessant. Pleas, threats, accusations of ruining their lives. I ignored them all. Sarah, caught in the crossfire, was devastated. Her family, reeling from the legal and social fallout, turned on her. They blamed her for bringing me into their lives, for not stopping me, for not defending them. They disowned her. Her world, which had revolved around their approval, collapsed. She begged me to reconsider the divorce, promising she would change, that she would never let anything happen to Leo again. But the damage was done. The image of her making breakfast while her son was being hit, her years of complicity, had carved an unbridgeable chasm between us. During the custody battle, the video was presented as critical evidence. The judge, visibly disturbed, swiftly granted me full sole custody of Leo. Sarah was given supervised visitation, a stinging rebuke to her failure as a mother. She lost her home, her family, and nearly everything she held dear, all because she chose to prioritize her parents' approval over her son's safety. The Millers and Carol were found guilty. Mr. Miller lost his position on the town council. Their community ostracized them. They faced hefty fines and community service, narrowly avoiding jail time due to their age and no prior record. But the public shame and the destruction of their social standing were perhaps a far worse punishment for them. Their lives, once comfortable and respected, were now tainted by the indelible stain of child abuse. As for me, the revenge was bittersweet. I had protected Leo. I had made them pay. But the cost was immense. My marriage was over. My son had endured a trauma that would forever be a part of his story. The festive spirit of Christmas was replaced by a cold, hard lesson in betrayal and the fierce, uncompromising love of a parent. Leo and I moved to a new town, a fresh start. We built a new life, just the two of us. He thrived, slowly healing, learning to trust again. We talked openly about what happened, about how it was never his fault, that he was loved and safe. I saw a therapist too, to deal with the lingering anger and the profound sense of loss. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I'd catch myself staring at Leo, watching him play, a pang of fear still gripping my heart. But then I'd remember the video, the absolute horror of it, and the cold, unyielding resolve that followed. I had done what I had to do. I had protected my son. And sometimes that's all a father can do. That Christmas, the one that broke my world, also forged me into the protector Leo truly needed.